there's a couple of ways of doing this one. Something that I don't push a lot is simply plugging in numbers. Whoops, that was not the calculator, that was a spreadsheet. That was me literally using math to try and figure out what's going to make me the most money. Looks like if I plant corn, I make about $312 an acre if my soil tests come out, and I have to put down these amounts. See, nice cool little spreadsheet. There's some math. Like, look, there's tables. Expenditures coming from over here. Anyways, I actually use math. Where was that? All right, this one. Let's just plug some numbers in. Let's take like negative 1.9. This problem has probably been engineered. No, the numbers are so far apart. This is something, they teach all over the country. Plug in numbers. If I plug a negative 1.9 into the first equation, I get that. If I take the second equation, I get that. And those are really close. See how close those are? It's like ridiculously close. They're not exact, but they're really close. It is probably the answer. They're rounding so far, it's kind of hard to tell. And I don't push the whole use the calculator as much as I should. I don't push the plug-in numbers as much as I should. And I wonder if it would help some of y'all if I did more of that. But those two things are ridiculously close. And it's probably the answer. I'm just going to continue the process here. Take a 0.3, store it to x. Go up and grab that first equation. Oh, I already did 0.3, didn't I? Sorry, take a negative 1.9. Oh, good God, Milbrath. Let me do this over, because I am that tired. If I plug a negative 1.9 into that equation, I get 0.32. If I plug it into the first one, which I thought I had typed, I get 0.3. That's what threw me off. And that was the negative 1.9. It's probably the answer. Let's see what happens if I do the 0.3. Forgive me, I am tired and having brain fog right now. If I take a 0.3 and plug it into 3x plus 6, I get 6.9. If I plug it into 1.82, it's not even going to be close. It's not. Now try a 5.1. I don't think this is going to be the answer either. But again, I'm just showing you how to plug numbers in a calculator real quick. If you don't like y1, y2, this is what you have to do. Those are pretty close too. So the person who designed this question, they did design the question to keep kids from simply plugging in numbers. Now how about that? They did. A good test taker does things like that, because which one is it? They were both so close. But learning how to plug in numbers made the question 50-50. Now this one should be really drastically different. Yeah, like not even close, but it had two valid answers there. So let's take a look at y equals. This is how you should do it. You should go to y equals. You should put one equation in y1, and you should put the other equation in y2. y1, y2 is vastly superior to the old school technique of just plugging in answer choices. Most modern test makers have designed things to counteract that, and you're going to have to play with the window. The intersection's probably going to happen somewhere above. I'm going to go to Window. And you know, not every kid can adjust a window. I think maybe 80% of my student body can. We've been doing it all year long. I don't know why I'm doing 1,000. 100 ought to do it. It's kind of interesting that two of those were very close. Looking like it's more like the 5 number. Maybe I made a mistake. I'm pretty tired. Oh, the negative 1.9. Oh, I'm also an idiot. It says time is greater than 0. Well, it has to be choice 3, doesn't it? Second trace 5. Forgive me, Milbrath is tired. Enter, enter, enter. There you go, 5.11. So, if I would bother reading the question, which I am guilty of, I would have noticed it said that. Which means that is nonsense, right? But they were hoping people wouldn't read either. Given y equals negative 2x and x squared plus y squared is 5, the point of intersection in quadrant 2 is... Well, a good test taker would think about quadrant 2, which is, by the way, not there, it's right here. We have negative x and positive y values. So, not quadrant 2. Also, whoops. I should just start over. I got to throw away choice 1. And there's a lot of ways you can do this. It's probably easier to plug in numbers. But before I do any of that, I am going to do this by hand, if I can find the eraser. So I'm going to take this negative 2x and I'm going to put it right there. X squared plus a negative 2x all squared is 5. That'd be x squared plus 4x squared is 5. That'll give me 5x squared being 5. X squared is 1, so x is plus or minus 1. Gone. I have to have the plus or minus. I could be either one of these. And now I've got that equation that I have y equals negative 2x. And if I plug in a positive 1, I get negative 2. It's not that one. It must be the other one. If I plug in a negative 1, I get 2. So it is that one. There's how you do it by hand. Alright. I can just show you on a calculator what I would do there. These things are equal when they have the same output. I can plug numbers into both. If I take this negative 1 and plug it in right there, negative 1 times 2, I did it kind of backwards there, but whatever, a negative 2. It does generate the 2 that's expected. If it doesn't in the second one, I'm also in business. This says if I plug in x for negative 1 and 2 for y, I better get 5. And I do, so it satisfies both systems. If you want to do this by hand, or sorry, if you want to do this using y1, y2, it's a little bit more complex. And let me say something. I get that you don't want to watch all this. I'm showing 3 techniques. Okay? Understand one of them. Preferably understand all 3, because all 3 have their place at the right point in time. If I want to do y1, y2, y1 is easy, it's negative 2x. y2, not so easy. But, for anybody who's half decent in algebra, it's not that bad. We're going to take the x squared and we're going to shift it to the right. That's going to change its sign. And now I'm simply going to counteract squaring. And if I counteract squaring, I would have y is plus or minus, that's the big thing, 5 minus x squared. And then I can push buttons. We have a 2x, and we have a positive square root of 5 minus x to the second. And then we have a negative square root of 5 minus x to the second. We can do a zoom 6. And when I teach math, the goal is for you to be as complete as I am. And I'm pretty complete. I usually know about 3 or 4 different ways of solving any given problem. Now I only want the answer in quadrant 2. And if I only want the answer in quadrant 2, I want the intersection between blue and black. So second trace 5 for intersect. I'm going to get my cursor close. And once I press enter, because I know how graphing calculator works, it's going to jump up to red. I don't want red. I want blue and black. So I'm going to hit the down arrow. It's going to get me on black. Enter, enter. And there she is. Oh, quadrant 2. God, I'm tired. Quadrant 2's up here. Second trace. Her. Ah. There's my issue. I'm sorry I'm wasting your time right now. I just cannot get my stuff together. There's my answer. I don't even know my quadrants now. Get close. Switches to red. Enter, enter. There she is. Negative 1, 2. It's funny how I can do the math, but the concepts are not there right now. Is this what it's like to be y'all? I don't like it. The 7th term of the geometric sequence is blah, blah, blah. Now, your ratio, if you don't know it, is always the second over the first. The second term is negative 2 root 3, and the first term is root 6. If you push buttons in a calculator, you're going to get a decimal. That's what you're going to get, which is not necessarily a big deal. I can show both ways here. What you're supposed to do is multiply top and bottom by the radical, which will give you negative 2 root 18 over 6. 18 is going to be 9 and 2. Again, it's over 6. Root of 9 is 3. 6's cancel. There's your ratio. So if you want the 7th term, you just you can work recursively. The 5th is equal to negative 4 root 3 times root 2, which is negative 4 root 6. The 6th is negative 4 root 6 times root 2, which is negative 4 root 12, which I'll simplify later. I'm not going to worry about anything until I get to the 7th. And the 7th is negative 4 root 12. I made a sign mistake, didn't I? Positive. Positive. My root 2 is supposed to be negative. Times negative root 2, which is 4 roots of 24. 24 is 4 times 6. Root of 4 is 2. 8 root 6. It's right there. Now, I showed a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of you, even the kids that are high 3s, just don't know how to work with radicals. And that's the honest to God truth. This is a non-calculator question. That's the reality of it. But if you can remember that your second over first was negative 2 root 3 over root 6, and you happen to have a calculator, you'll get this funky decimal, which happens to be negative root 2. And if I want the fifth term, I multiply it by that thing. That's my fifth term. I multiply it by that thing again, and I get the sixth term. I multiply it by again, and I'd be at the seventh term, which turns out that should be 8 roots of 6. So there you go. And again, please forgive me for being so tired that I can't think properly. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it right now. Maybe I'll wake up for 6th period.